Hey YouTube, we're here with the bird of time tonight. I want to show you a couple of different things I'm doing right now. I'm just gonna, these nuts help to balance the wings because these wings do not weigh the same amount, which is really a bummer. The other thing is my construction. While I'm happy with the way things have been working, I've had this situation where the monocoat has peeled up on the corners of these because I did such a haphazard mount. And the way I load it in the car, it's peeling that back. So anyway, just wanted to show you that that can be real easily resolved. And then also, the second thing I wanted to show you was how I'm going to accomplish getting these wings to balance. And if you have a glider, and you don't maybe have a good scale to measure their weight with, really all you have to do is join the wings together with your wing joiner, or whatever mechanism you use, and then basically just balance it somewhere. And you can tell which wing falls down. That's the one that you need to correct. And I'll show you, see how I have that marked there? 246.3 grams, or 346 grams, okay? And then this one is 301 grams. And I just measured it on a scale. Because I work on scales for a living, so I have scales around. Lots of them. So we'll just lay this one aside since we're not really doing anything to it right now. If you're interested, I've been working on this little sunbird, which is cool because it looks a whole lot like the bird of time, except it doesn't have the polyhedral wing, meaning the dihedral. When there's two different dihedrals, that's called a polyhedral. And I'm sure there's some geometry person out there that's going to say that's not exactly right. I agree. Okay, this is solid wood here. This is a void, so I'm just feeling with my fingertip. Ideally, I want it out here because I want these nuts to have the maximum impact, because this is not without sacrifice to flight performance, just for the simple fact that it weighs something. Okay, so the further out you get, the more effect. And I already know that it works because I've literally been flying around with that taped on to the wing, just like this, with this piece of tape. So I'm hoping this isn't like solid wood. I don't think it is. It feels like it's got a little flex to it. I could go in here. This is the way I had it taped. Was, I mean, like literally like this. So whatever we do is going to be a big improvement. Okay, so there's a rib here, and then there's the nose. I think I'm going to just throw caution to the wind. I'm going to try cutting in here, okay? So I'm going to cut, preferably something that can be opened and closed, so that if we need to make an adjustment, we can do that. I do not want to hurt myself either. So I'm just cutting here, and I'm going to cut here. Trying to stay mostly, if you appreciate where the center of gravity would end up, that's where I'm trying to make it so that I can get these nuts in here. This is feeling pretty solid though, which makes me a little bit nervous about my plan. Now, excuse me guys, the other thing we could do is we could actually cut out, if this proves to be solid, I don't think it's solid, it's just thick. See how I'm cutting it at about a 30-degree angle here. Excuse me, 60-degree angle. Something in that area. What that's going to do is that's going to give me a nice piece that can be pocketed back in, hypothetically. But it's not cutting, the penetration is not quite there. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. I'm going to lay this aside for now. I just don't want to ram this thing and have the blade come through the other side and chop into my hand, but I also don't want it to come through the other side and damage the wing on the other side. That would suck. I'm beginning to think that this might be solid. That's the risk you take when you cut into stuff. It's also possible that I'm on some sort of a solid rib here. Felt like I made it through there. You could use a different tool. You wouldn't have to use just a straight blade like this. Not feeling so solid right there. And guys, that's one of the advantages of building the model yourself too. Of course, my grandpa built this model. And not for, just mostly to avoid ambiguities. My grandpa's still around and everything, so actually had some surgery the other day. So we spent the evening together ordering parts for a plane he's going to be building while he's stuck at home for a little bit. Okay. Balsa wood is tough because sometimes it's strong and then sometimes it's weak, and so you got to be careful not to blow through your work. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and cut it. I didn't want to cut it here, but I'm going to cut it here. I had hoped to seam it similar to what we did on the actual spoiler down there, but we're not going to get that lucky, I don't think. Okay, so I'm definitely in a pocket of some sort, so we'll just lay that aside. We're going to grab a flat screwdriver. Not something too wide. We don't want it too narrow either, because you'll probably damage it doing this. I'm just about sure we will. Yeah, don't like the way that's going. We got that flat blade too. We could try that if this doesn't work. So the idea is we're going to try to get in here and pry it up. Ooh, I'm in something. Okay, so just walking the blade of the screwdriver back to me. Okay, so, ooh, it's a pretty thick piece of wood here. And it's not impossible that this thing is solid. A little less likely to chop my finger off with a screwdriver, but only slightly, only marginally less likely. Whoa. Okay, whoops. That feels pretty solid to me, actually. Well, that's a stinking bummer. Alright. You guys are going to love this solution. Piece of tape. Got it. This is not one of my more quality repairs here. But just at some point, we're probably going to recover this whole wing anyway. So for the moment, this is my temporary repair. So obviously this wing is solid, which really is kind of a bummer, because I just cut that for nothing. Because it's solid. There is not enough play there to have substantiated my claims, but either way. Now I can tell this is open. But of course we have to, tuck it all in tight as we can get to the frame here. just don't want to strike out again. Yeah, definitely got a pocket there. Okay. No doubt about it. 100% sure. Yep, that's what I expected would happen here, guys. Hey, just like I say when I crash, you're not crashing, you're not flying. You're not making mistakes, you're probably not building. And that's not to say that there's not always a better way to do it. Every time I make a mistake, I'm sure there's 10 people out there screaming at the TV saying, "Oh man, why'd you do that? It was stupid." Well, yeah, pretty much. But life happens. Okay, so you can see how that's going to fold back down. And we'll just put a little backer in the corner, which will be very simple. We don't want this to be super heavy, and we don't want it to be super complicated, because I don't want to waste a bunch of time on this. This is not going to be a complicated project. It's going to be a simple project. Okay, so then we can take and cut with the grain. That means we can use the scissors for it. Cut against the grain. You have more chance of splitting it. Okay, so hypothetically, if we glued that into the corners, then we would have a good hold. And probably what we'll do is we'll just... Hold on, I gotta blow this thing out. Okay, so it's clean now. And what we're going to do is we'll cut this in half yet again. Okay. This is going to become our backer. So we have something to push against. Now I want to show you a trick when you do this. Kicker. Okay. Nothing special there. Medium CA. Tip is seized up as usual. Okay, got that opened up again. So here's a trick, guys. So wherever you want this to end up, okay, grab your X-Acto knife and pierce the piece, the workpiece, and then you can hold it just like that. Okay, so I'm just going to get a little bit of CA here on the area where we want it to be glued, and we're going to kicker it, and then we're going to stick it in place, and we're going to leave it, and it's already set. Then we're going to take this screwdriver and we're just going to push up on it, make sure everything's solid. Then we're going to do the test. Yeah, baby, she's a solid. Okay, so now you may notice I cut that in half, right? I cut that longer piece in half so as to put it on both sides. Well, there's also this solid wood over here where, so this side you're going to have just a little bit less support, of course. So you see, you just stick that in at an angle, and then you can take and apply your glue. This time I'm going to apply it to the end as well. And that's going to give us some glue surface on the side where we don't have access that we had hoped to have access to. Just make sure you're going to be able to reach everything. Actually need this to be turned a little bit, but we'll do it once we get it glued. Kicker activates it. Get it in place, let it sit. I don't have a lot of bottom pressure on this. It's probably not going to make a very good bond. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to make some back pressure. Grab yourself a Q-tip, preferably something you don't care about, like a used one. Okay, peel off the glue if you had glue on it. Make a 90, make a 90. Take that thing and pull it in here. Okay, very simple. Then you can apply some pressure if you need to. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do real quick that's super easy, so we're going to get all that stuff out of the way so we don't tip it over. We're going to take and just hold this thing kind of upside down. Just give it a little squirt of CA on the inside. And that's going to reinforce. Whoops, sorry guys, I didn't mean to point you in the wrong direction there. So we're going to CA in there. Then we're also going to put a little bit of CA on here to reinforce, because this is just kind of a weak point. The only thing you got to be careful about is don't let that CA puddle where it's going to mate down with the other pieces. Whoops. Looks like we got kicker on there, so it actually activated very fast. Now we're going to do some kicker here. We're going to do some kicker inside. Okay. So now you've got this nice little access hatch. And I had thought about putting a magnet in there, but I'm like, really? How often am I going to actually get in here? I'm going to do it once and then probably be done with it forever. But you never know. So for now, we're just going to do the wood. We're just going to line the edge here a little bit. And then once we have that lined, we're going to take our utility Q-tip and wipe the edge. Just one big thick drip. Spread it down the edge. Pull that little piece of whatever it is off. Kicker. Okay, cool. Alright, so we'll get this capped off. Throw away our Q-tips. And then we're ready to rock. Now when it pushes down, we have a nice strong area. And we'll probably do one more strengthening point. And that's going to be down here. Because I can imagine having a rough landing and creating a new problem out of this. Okay. So actually just cut a little bit longer piece. Doesn't have to be very stout. And then this is just gonna go up in there. We're gonna go a little bit longer with it actually. So that's gonna be our on the front. And when we're done, the iron will be there to touch everything up before we throw a piece of tape over there. Okay, so same thing, we're going to dry fit it this time. Take the knife and stab it in. Then we're going to bring it in. Oh, we didn't quite make the angle, so we got to pick it up a little bit different than I was thinking. Sometimes you got to stick it into a material that you're not concerned about it protruding through and like stabbing yourself. So that's what we're going to do. And it's going to let go, but that's okay, guys. Make no mistake, you want it to let go because you don't want to keep hanging on to it. Okay, so we're going to glue this area right here and then along the edge. Don't need a lot. It's going to be quick. Don't touch it until you're ready. Oh, shoot. Popped off a little prematurely. Good. I got it in there. That was a little bit lucky there. That should not have gone the way I expected. A little bit of CA there. Fresh Q-tip. Wipe it. Spread it quickly. Kicker. Alright. Simple as that. Now we'll let that set up for just a second so we can fold it closed without it sticking together. Okay, and push it into place. Yep, everything's nice and sturdy now. Good support, as though it weren't there. Okay, so now the whole objective of this access hatch is to put these nuts in here. Okay, so we're just going to go one nut. Two nuts. Three nuts. Four nuts. And then of course the weight of all this schmutz here will be a factor. But we're also going to glue this. Now, I'm torn between hot glue and CA, but not torn enough to really seriously consider hot glue, because that would be a lot of hot glue. Just right in the middle. And even with that much CA, you'll still be able to undermine the strength of it later if you need to. It's already kind of holding itself together. And to be honest, on something like this, you just don't want the weight to shift. And you also don't want the airflow issues that I would have been inducing with that piece of tape. So some kicker, let that work for just a second or two. While that's happening, we'll clean the tip. Seems like half of what I do is just cleaning CA tips, which gets old. Wish there was a better design, but alright, so let's give it the touch test. Feels good. Now, look at that, guys. Beautiful. Other than this, that's not beautiful. Bad cut. Okay. So now we're going to wipe that off with some alcohol. Just regular. I use medical alcohol. It's cheaper. I think it's cheaper, I guess. Okay, wipe this down quick. Okay, it's wiped down good. Take your little iron. Run the iron right over that spot. Okay, that's just to reattach the monocoat that I had let slip. Okay, it's good. So now, basically the next and final step would be tape over it. So now later on, here in a minute, I'm going to show you one interesting phenomenon. This is actually thinner tape than the tape you're seeing here. This is better quality, but this is thinner. And this doesn't need to be super strong because it's just literally holding it down. If I have a wingtip strike onto some concrete or something like that, I can easily peel this off and redo it. You guys know better than to think I'm actually going to do that, though. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware, but I don't remember if I made a video of this particular mod, but I also made an access hatch back here. So I can take that out and get to the, what do you call that? The bell crank. It's a bell crank mechanism. And that's how the stabilator, the elevator and stabilizer, is moved. And I also took on that plane, and I don't know if I did a video on this too, but my stabilator, the points are closer together so I have more play. And I also went to like the innermost setting that would still allow free motion. So that's it, guys. Just the alcohol drying. So now, if you need to get back in, you can get back in. But that was super easy. It's nice and clean now. So let's weigh the wings. I want to show you a strange phenomena. Okay, so we're going to pause it. Alright guys, so we're going to go into this room here. We got a scale. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put this onto the scale. And then that'll hold up the wing. And I'm going to zero it. Zero the chair off. And I'm going to select grams. Okay. So I'm just setting the wing on the scale. And so you can see that says 400 grams. And this one here says 360. And you're thinking, wait, Brian, you just went through all that work to put that weight in there. Yes, you're right. And furthermore, just so you know, this is, the graduations on this are 20 grams because it's like a 700-pound scale. So the reason we can get away with having different weight wings is because the weight on this one wing that we just worked on is heavier at the tip. And so what that means is that this plane will now balance when it's assembled. And that's what you have to do. Now, ideally, when you build the wings will be of the same weight. But I live in Realityville with you guys. They are not going to be exactly the same. But when you have an egregious difference, you have to do something about it. Otherwise, when you're assembling your bird of time, it's going to literally want to fall over every time you're putting the wings together, which gets really old really quick. So anyway, guys, really glad you joined me for another endeavor into modeling excellence and extreme boredom. Don't forget to like and subscribe for some more action.